Hello everyone, my name is Dennis Bauer. We just heard about the Plocan project from Technip FMC, which is mainly about offshore hydrogen production pretty much. So it relates to renewable electricity, offshore wind. I will connect a little bit to that topic as well, and surprisingly, of course, I will talk a bit about hydrogen. That's what we're here for. So I will introduce a little bit into the company NEUMAN and ESSER. I will explain why hydrogen is pretty much one key of the energy transition, and why we need to store it in large capacities as well. What compression principle might be suitable for these storage solutions, with certain examples and summary at the end. Yeah, family NEUMAN and ESSER. The company has been founded in 1830 by Mr. NEUMAN and Mr. ESSER, of course. 1 year later he joined. And nowadays the company is still in hands of family. It's the family Peters in the 4th generation. They acquired the company in 1891 and now led by sister and brother Stephanie and Alexander Peters. The company sits with its headquarters nearby the city of Aachen, which is midwest of Germany, so let's say about 2.5 to 3 hours by car from here, not too far away. Yeah, what do? We have an annual turnover of around 400 million euros, nearly 1,600 people worldwide, and we do manufacture compressors, Bauer compressor. We package them as completely assembled units with all the utilities you need, from low pressures up to high pressures. How do we do that on the new machine side, but also on the aftermarket side in the world? So with our compressor manufacturings, we are only in Germany, so all our products are manufactured in Germany, but we do have order handling and packaging locally everywhere in the world. And to be as close as possible to our clients, we have on the aftermarket side subsidies, entities pretty much on every continent. We have our repair and coordination centers everywhere. And where we are not that close physically, we have agents with their workshops supporting us. But also we have our digital solutions to be able to do remote monitoring and preventive maintenance from abroad, which explicitly comes into the game when we have installations far outside from any population. Yeah, as I said, our manufacturings are only in Germany. We do manufacture API 618 compressors, reciprocating piston compressors. Our large frame sizes are all manufactured at our headquarters in Übach-Palenberg. The largest frame size can take up to 30 megawatt pretty much. The smaller ones, only 1 megawatt, and the high pressure compressors are manufactured in Mülheim. So yeah, coming to hydrogen as a surprise. So what people always talk about is sector coupling nowadays. Why do we want to separate, not anymore separate the sectors, but couple them just to benefit from the electrons we produce with renewable electricity? But let's say the outcome of all is we will create, and we already create, a much higher demand in electricity, so electrons, than we have right now. Here we have the comparison 2020, 2045 in Germany, which is pretty much, if you see the electricity, 600 terawatt hours to 1,400, so a bit more than doubled. European numbers are rule of thumb times 4, pretty easy. So we see we will create a much higher electricity demand. And this mainly has to come from renewable electricity, so offshore wind, onshore wind, photovoltaic. Here as an example, but perhaps you have seen such a slide already a couple times before, and perhaps from Technip presentation, an offshore wind production profile over 1 year. So we see lots of ups and downs, and this is only the best case, because onshore wind is much worse, and PV is even worse than that, because during the night, sun is not shining. So we have a challenge, and the challenge is with all that fluctuation and volatility of the renewable electricity, we create times when we have much more supply than demand, and vice versa. So we also create a huge destabilization in our grid systems, which we need to overcome. And that actually asks for an energy storage which can act flexible and agile to release the energy when it's needed again. How to solve that pretty much at a time when our grid systems are anyhow already at their limits pretty much. In Germany, I can tell, our grid system needs to be stabilized much more and extended. Same we see in other countries. And what we know how to handle is molecules, that's for sure. So we handle molecules when it comes to natural gas. We have infrastructure, we have pipelines. Pipelines can be reused for hydrogen, for example. We know that from a couple of studies, so at least a huge amount of the pipelines. So there is ideas. Few facts and figures about hydrogen. So we can see on the top left side, hydrogen contains per kilogram quite an amount of energy, I would say, 33 kilowatt hours per kilogram. But when it comes to the volume, it's not that much anymore. It's just 3 kilowatt hours per cubic meter. So we already can see that compression also plays an important role when we handle hydrogen to get more energy into a small amount of space. When we want to create renewable hydrogen, green hydrogen, see that we need around 15 liters of raw tap water pretty much. We need 50 to 55 kilowatt hours of electricity, so electrons, for just 1 kilogram of hydrogen. So we need to be sensitive with first, when do we produce hydrogen from electricity, and when do we go a step further, for example, to liquefaction, because it also needs another 10 to 12 kilowatt hours per kilogram. So why can hydrogen be a much better battery than a battery perhaps is? Because it's quite easy. Electricity, when you compare it with milk, it only has a short shelf life. Electricity, even in batteries, batteries must be huge anyhow. It's only having a short shelf life. And hydrogen, instead, you can store it for a long time. You can store it in bottles, you can store it in large containers, and you can use it for various different applications. Let it be binding it to a liquid carrier, ammonia, methanol, even liquefaction or even real electrification. So you see, with hydrogen, we have lots of possibilities. And when we look into the hydrogen value chain, as many of you guys might have seen already as well, we see on the bottom part, in the middle of the bottom part, a compressor serving a salt cavern hydrogen storage. So salt caverns in the world, in Europe mainly, they have a history as natural gas storages. They also have a history as hydrogen storages already, not that many, but they are existing already. And there are a couple projects out there using old salt caverns or new ones as a storage. Why such a salt cavern? Because salt is very, it is completely sealed against the molecules, so it cannot escape. It can take dynamic forces, which we have because we fill and empty the cavern a couple times. And we can actually wash out in the salt huge volumes. So the largest caverns nowadays, they have a height of multiple times the Cologne Cathedral, for example, like 3-4 times on top of each other. And and we need equipment to get the hydrogen down there into the earth. We need to compress it. Such a cavern can take up to 200 bar. And we need to have a compressor which compresses from the pipeline pressure, nearly 40 to 80 bar, to 200 bars. This can be such a reciprocating piston compressor, which actually works a bit like a boxer motor. So it compresses in two different directions. While it compresses in the one direction, it sucks gas into the other chamber. And a solution can look like this. This is a complete compressor package for such a salt cavern storage. As I said, 40 to 80 bar on the suction side and 200 bar on the discharge side. And the flow can be actually between 200 and 400,000 normal cubic meter of hydrogen per hour with such a machine. The shaft power would be between 14 and 16 megawatt. What's special about such an application? The compressor needs to take care of a pressure range on the inlet side, but on the same page, it has to take care on the pressure ratio on the discharge side. Because the more you fill the salt cavern, the higher the discharge pressure of the compressor has to be. So we have the two challenges combined in one product. It must be very flexible, and you want to be energy efficient. From our own compressor software solution, we can draw pictures like this, like a flow diagram. So you can see this solution might be a two-stage solution. We have the first stage 5 times in parallel, the second stage 3 times in parallel. And a control range between 20 and 100% typically. Stepless and not a recycle valve, so we don't waste the energy. Yeah, so what we can also do with our software, we can print out just a performance diagram. And here we can see the operation point to the top left corner at full load. 200 bar discharge pressure and 40 bar suction pressure. So the largest delta P we have designed here. And we can see on the top that we can produce around 200,000 normal cubic meter with that operating point. And we need a power of around 16.5 megawatt. And if we follow the curves, we can clearly see here what this only one compressor designed for this application can do. For example, 60% load. We are in the middle of the diagram pretty much. We see the suction pressure is 60 bar, discharge pressure 170 more or less. We only need 8.5 megawatt of power then anymore. And this is the benefit of the stepless control we can have with such a compressor. So we don't recycle, we don't compress and release the energy again, so the pressure. With that solution, we are very energy efficient. Yeah, so as a summary, one can say salt cavern storages for hydrogen can actually solve the misalignment, which I said in the beginning, on the renewable energy supply and demand side. Then second, to store the hydrogen into salt caverns, it can, on the other hand, also be, let's say, for example, a depleted natural gas reservoir, but you need a suitable compressor, which is the reciprocating piston compressor, because it can serve all the different challenges we have, like the low mole weight of the hydrogen. They are very efficient, they are very flexible when it comes to the different operating conditions. They offer the required purity, so we don't need lubrication. We don't put oil into the gas. We can offer the required pressures and also the flow rates, and can even adapt on one and the same machine as required. And one important point is in the industry, this compressor is actually the proven keystone. So hydrogen compressors like this are existing in the market for many, many years, for many decades. We produce hydrogen compressors for around 100 years now, mainly for petrochemical refining and chemical industries. Hydrogen was and is always existing, and therefore it's a proven keystone in the industry, where we have perhaps still right now, when we think of electrolyzers, different stack technologies, perhaps other technologies for hydrogen production coming up in the future. These are the unknowns right now for us, where we where we seek to get guarantees and all that stuff. But here for this product, we are happy that we can really give those guarantees because we know what we do. Yeah, that's it. And I see I'm on time pretty much, yeah? So when the slides will be shared, you get the links here and can have a look at our homepage. But on top of that, we are just here around the corner, NEUMAN and ESSER. If you have questions, just come by and visit us. Thank you.